Alright, the next project is front universal joints on the axle shaft. So what I decided to go with are these Moog super strength universal joints. Got them from AutoZone with a coupon, so they were actually very competitive. And the reason I went with the Moog is so I could get a little grease fitting. Now the interesting thing about it is these grease fittings are different. You see, they're like flat. I guess you use a needle on it to there's a grease fitting there. It's not like your little ball grease fitting. So this comes with a universal joint and 4 clips. Now the interesting thing is they sent me, I ordered part number 377. One's a yellow box, one is a blue box. The blue box says super strength in a bunch of different areas, and I was like, uh-oh, this one doesn't say that, but it actually says it on the bottom. You can see it underneath the sticker. Made in Mexico. So the difference between these and the Duralast AutoZone ones was, number one, the Duralast does not have a a grease fitting, which these caps have a grease fitting area. And the Duralast one is also smaller. So let me show you the difference between the OEM and the Super Duty ones. First thing you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but they're thicker. So the Super Duties are, and Moogs are a little bit thicker. So as you see, the OEM 20.3 millimeters, and the Super Duty is 21, almost 22 millimeters. So it's a very slight difference, but maybe that makes something. Alright, this is a better measurement, 22.3, so it's about 2 millimeters thicker in the center. And these caps are right at 30 millimeters, 29.9. Now I hope the difference in these is just the manufacture date. You can look on here, this one does say, the casting is kind of rough on these things. It has looks like MG371F, and this one says MGMB371F. This looks a little bit better refined than this one. Probably 2 different Moog factories in Mexico, who knows. The original one looks like it had a marking on it, but you can't really tell what it was. Now whether this is the OEM or an aftermarket one that was put later on in the 20 years of this Jeep, I have no idea. As you can see, these Moogs have a lifetime warranty. Got a coupon on it. Now the other thing we're going to change are the hub bearings. Now I got 2 hub bearings from the same AutoZone, and one is in a brown box and one's in a white box. And of course, typical auto parts fashion, somebody wrote all over the box. But I did check them out. They were brand new before I got them, and both made in China. But these do not have the hub bearings only have a 1-year warranty, and if I would have got the Moog, it would have been twice the price with a 3-year warranty. And I couldn't see any visual differences between the two. So now the interesting thing on these, it has a casting number there, and they're the same, although the font looks a little different. The casting number is the same, and they look decent quality. I mean, you know, I'm no machinist, but the quality looks halfway decent. There's no play in either one of them. This one, as you can see, the seal is red, a little bit shinier. This one, the seal is not red. It's like metal colored and not so shiny. So who knows if there's any difference on these. But these are fairly easy to change. Once you get the original one off, which you'll see in the video, I have a trick to getting those off. I put a lot of anti-seize and stuff like that. If I have to change these in the future, I literally can probably change one of these in 20 to 30 minutes. Whereas a U-joint is a booger to change. You got to have a press or beat it out with a hammer and all that kind of stuff. So I got the better U-joints because I don't have to deal with them again. These, on the other hand, they're less than half the price of a Moog, so we'll just hope for the best. And I read some reviews online that they were decent. Install the new one. Take a look at that right there. And you can see that these are bent in a little bit. So that's not going to work. So I had to go to O'Reilly's and order this. AutoZone did not sell it, nor did any other auto parts store around here. And they could get it. And if you see, this one is straight. So see the big difference. So I think the mistake I made with this one is my press. When I pressed it in, that hydraulic press, 20 tons, I think, bent that in. So don't make my mistake. It'll cost you $90. All right, so obviously you got to jack it up. Put you some safety jack stands there and take the wheel off. All right, once you get the wheels off, you've got to take a couple of 12 millimeter bolts. You've got one right here, and you've got one down there. You got to take them off, and then you have to pull the caliper off and hang it up here. And once you get the caliper bolts off, all you got to do is just pry the caliper up like this. It'll come right off. Now's a good time to grease these ball joints. From the factory, you can only grease the top one. It's got a grease zerk, but the bottom one does not. Don't know why that is, but now's a good time because it's easy to get to. All right, once you get your caliper tied out of the way, then the next thing you want to do is put some penetrant on here, PB Blaster. Take this quarter pin out and take this little nut cap off. So this is your friend here. Put some in here, it helps get the rotors off too. Well, looky here, while I was removing this cotter pin, my Craftsman USA made needle nose pliers, the tip broke. Yeah, that's likely, these are Sears, so likely that I'll get a new set is unlikely. Alright, now that we got the little protector off and the cotter pin out, you're going to need a 36 millimeter axle nut socket. You can rent these for free at AutoZone. Hopefully it'll come off with an impact. Not a problem. There's also a little washer in here. Don't forget that. Now just pull the rotor off. This is where most people's problems are going to come in. Separating this hub from this plate right here. See these bolts that are going through? You better clean them off good because you don't want to break them. They go all the way through the back, and these bolts right here are 12 point. So if you ever wanted to know why you would need a 12 point socket, you're going to need it for this. This right here is a alright, that's what the 12 point bolts look like. They're on there tight, so what I did was scrape all the rust off on this side and then use some PB Blaster or some type of penetrant and let it sit for a while, and then get a breaker bar on the back. The where is it? This is an interesting breaker bar, Duralast. It's a long 3/8 breaker bar that I saw on the Catus Maximus channel, and it gets into tight spaces and gives you a lot of leverage. So I really like that. It may not be the strongest, but it definitely serves a purpose, and it definitely broke these loose. And so he's got a cool channel. He does a lot of tool reviews. Just beware of anybody that starts out hidey ho. So you know, you don't want to I want to go down there, but old Dan H would be proud of me. He's got a cool channel. It's called Project Dan H. Lots of anti-seize. But now Dan H said that if you put these bolts in and whack it this way, you will push that hub out. Yeah, that does work, but I haven't had any trouble with it. Problem with it, because I can't get in there with the hammer. And then he talks about taking the tie rod in off, and that works too. But what I did see on a channel, I couldn't even tell you who it was, is you put a socket here and an extension, and you turn the wheel and let the hydraulics of the system push it out. And it worked fine on the other side, and it worked fine on my other XJ, so we're going to try that. I will tap this quite a bit to try to free it up. But it's ready to come off now, so what you want to do is tap it here to push that in a little bit. Let's see if that'll work. Let's see. Yep, that's definitely loose. But the issue is it seizes right here against this plate. And usually this plate will stick to it. So I'm going to whack it a few times, and then I'm going to show you my hydraulic method. Alright, my method is you unthread that bolt a little bit, and you put a socket and an extension, and when I turn the wheel, it's going to press up against this bolt, and it's going to forward motion here, forward pressure, and it will pop it out and get it just enough where I can pull the whole hub out. So well, I couldn't film it, but when I did the press method, it worked. You see how it separated? So that's all I need, and now I'm going to straighten the wheel back up, and I should be able to pop it off. That's what we want. Okay, this dust shield comes off like that. There's our hub. I'm going to straighten this back up, and this thing could just pull right out. Man, these things are crusty. Alright, you've got to take out these little clips. There's a clip right here. There's one on each one of these caps before we get started. So I'm going to try that. You just nail it out with a screwdriver like that. Then I'll clean these up, and I'm going to use a ball joint press to remove them. I don't know if you can see that, but see how I've got the clip up just enough, and I'm going to wedge something right in there to get it out. So you can see this one broke. That's a good thing. Whoops. Alright, what I got here is a ball joint puller, and you've got a section right here that's got a hole in it. I'm going to push down and hopefully push that out into there without bending this, which is what I did on my last one. Man, that was a lot easier. That worked like a charm. Now when you get to this point, it may require some persuasion. Sometimes you can just grind off that edge right there and twist it around and it'll pop out. I'm going to try to beat this out, but if not, I'll just grind it off. Alright, to get that out, I just put a little grinder right there. I needed just a little extra clearance to get it out. Make sure you wear safety goggles when you do this, because when this thing finally gives, it shoots and bearings fly everywhere. I also think it helps if you remove these seals. It gives you more room. See, I didn't do that, and it's all jammed up in there. So we got to get all that out, and that'll give us a little bit more room for this thing to come out if I get all that out. Well, it never goes as smooth as we think. The top half of this cap, when I was pressing it out, it popped the top half of that cap off. So that cap is half stuck in there. This one's out. So I might have to do some grinding. Victory, victory. So what did we learn during the teardown? Well, PB Blaster is your friend, and don't rush. And don't use a 20-ton jack. A 20-ton press. I'll show you what it looks like. Don't use that. Use a ball joint press. It probably saved me an hour. I did not, on the passenger side, I used the press, the big press, and on the driver's side with the small axle, I used the ball joint press. You could rent the ball joint press for free at AutoZone. Actually, I had to get it from O'Reilly because AutoZone said that there was a recall on them. So who knows? And otherwise you'll have to buy one of those ends of the axle. So stay tuned for the next video where you see my attempt to put it back together. Peace.